Hey everybody, welcome to Experience League Live. I got my shirt here. Experience League Live, welcome. Glad to have you with us today. We got a great show prepared for you today. We got some experts. Going to talk about some great stuff today. Before we do, just want to give you the rundown here for brought to you by Experience League. For all of your self-help materials, you got documentation, tutorials, free courses. You've got the community, talk to your peers. So hopefully you'll come on over to experienceleague.adobe.com and join us there and let us know if there's anything missing. And if there's anything that you want us to have there available for you, then just let us know. With no further ado, let's bring in our guests. Today we're going to talk about the basics of the Web SDK, and we're going to have an Ask the Experts. And so we have, corralled our resident experts on the Web SDK so you can learn everything you ever wanted to know about it, and maybe then some more after that. So first we are going to bring in Rudy Schumpert, and here he is. Rudy, where are you? There you are. Hey, Rudy, how you doing?
Hey, thanks, Doug.
I should have asked you ahead of time. Is it Schumpert or Schumpert? Did I get it right first time?
Schumpert. It was close.
Oh, son of a... Okay.
It's all good.
I was going with Sachoman pronunciation. So there you go. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, and Rudy, you are a senior evangelist for the platform and for the cloud as well. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. What is it in 20 seconds? What does that mean you do every day as an evangelist?
So I really worked with our customers and internal folks to help educate them on how to get the most out of our products.
Okay. I like it. Well, in case you missed anything in that explanation, we're also going to bring in our very next evangelist as well. And welcome to Jeff Chasen. Welcome to the show. So Jeff, you're also a senior evangelist for Platform and Cloud. And what did Rudy miss that you guys do in your day to day?
I'm just a sidekick. I'm just Rudy's sidekick.
Oh, got it. Oh.
Now we try to help customers as much as we can. We use the materials on Experience League and contribute as much as we can. But try to maximize the value they get out of the time they spend with our stuff.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was going to say that if you're the Ed McMahon to his Johnny Carson, but I figure that probably half of our viewers don't know who those guys are. So maybe we'll have to choose some different sidekicks. Yeah. All right. Last but not least, we could bring in Eric Matisoff. Eric, how you doing?
Hey.
And Eric
What's happening?
Not a senior evangelist. No. He's the principal evangelist. That's right. Principal evangelist
Head of the
for
school.
analytics and data science. Is that correct?
You got it. Yes, sir.
He's a scientist. We always try to have at least one scientist on the show, just to keep us honest.
I did bring some beakers and test tubes with me, don't you worry.
Okay, good. Okay, sounds good. All right, well, you guys, thanks for being on the show today. Glad to have you here with us, and we're going to talk about the basics of Web SDK. I just want to spend a minute and let everybody get to know you guys a little bit better. So I just want to run through maybe your fun facts a little bit, and Rudy, we'll start with you because this is one of my favorite fun facts we've had on the show. You're like, I don't know, I don't really have anything, and it's nothing, it's no biggie. I just have 14,000 Christmas trees that we pull out in our house every year. Okay, that's an exaggeration.
It's a little high, but we do have quite the collection of artificial trees. There is enough to have a tree in every room of the house, at least 2. And sadly,
Nice.
most of them are themed. So
Oh, they're themed. Okay.
of course they're themed.
Yes. Okay. Do you have This is what I want to know then. If you have themed Christmas trees, I'm really counting on you here, Rudy. I need to know if you have one for Heat Miser and Cold Miser, and if you know who I'm talking about from The Year Without a Santa Claus.
No, we don't have any of those. No themes for that.
Okay, well,
it's okay, Doug. It won't be the
year,
last time I disappoint you, Doug.
This year, this year, you don't count on. Okay, which one is your favorite? You have a favorite?
We have a tree that's all just small photo picture frames with
nice.
family photos.
Great.
That's probably my favorite.
I like it. Very nice. Very nice. Very sentimental. You're really endearing yourself to the audience right now. It's a good move. Okay, Jeff, you are an avid scuba diver, and which is awesome, and over 500 dives. I'm glad that you're still with us, having gone under the water that many times. So, so what was your favorite dive out of all of those? I don't know if there's a favorite dive or favorite place, but
it's hard to pick a favorite place to dive. But most interesting, I guess, was taking my two kids diving in Aruba on a shark dive, where they fed the sharks. That was pretty cool. A little nerve-wracking as a parent, and probably not my finest parenting moment agreeing to do that, but it was fun, and we lived to tell about it.
Yeah. Hey, you guys called DCFS. So, okay. Jeff, that's awesome. That's awesome. No, I've been once, I think, in my life. It was fun. Awesome. Okay, Eric, how you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah. So, as also the evangelist, we didn't get really to your what you do all day kind of a thing, but is a lot of working with customers, a lot like these guys do, but mostly with analytics and data science.
Yeah, working with customers, working with products, working with sales, working with prospects, working with consulting, working with technical marketing, really just trying to find ways to take our products and share out the best ways to use them, best opportunities, latest and greatest capabilities, writing books about them, and whatever it takes to share the Adobe gospel.
Nice. That's right. Sharing the Adobe gospel as the evangelist. Nice. I like it. Cool. And you're a soccer player, even at your ripe old age of 29 and a half.
A little higher.
Still playing some soccer. That's nice. In a league.
Yeah, Tuesday nights.
Okay.
Tuesday night pickup, Sunday morning 45-minute halves, 11v11. I don't get a lot done on Sunday afternoons. I know that.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Our team did win 12-0 on Sunday.
Ooh, okay.
They were not good.
Okay. Well, congratulations on stomping those guys, and I hope you feel good about it.
To you as well.
All right, guys. I'm pretty sure that they are now interested in hearing the actual topic that we came together to talk about today. So, anyway, Rudy, do you want to kind of get us pushed off in the right direction here? We're gonna, we've kind of teased this that we're going to talk about the basics of SDK, and I will kind of say to everybody, please do come into the chat room and give us your questions that you have. We have some too that we've kind of gotten over the last however long. Rudy, you've got a list of questions for us, right, in case people are slow to bring them in.
Absolutely.
But please do go ahead and you guys put your questions that you have for these guys into the chat pod, and we'll have them address them here on our live show. So appreciate that. And Rudy, what is probably the start you go here? What is the main basic question? Is is it what in the world is Web SDK, or what is?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sharing my screen here, Doug.
Okay.
The question we get kind of to kind of start off and give us some framing is, what exactly is the Adobe Experience Platform Web SDK, and how does it fit into Adobe's data collection strategy going forward? And so I think this is a good starting point for most of the conversations I have with customers. So here on the left side, basically the Adobe Experience Platform Web SDK is a consolidated tracking library for all of the Adobe tracking. So in the past, for legacy data collection, you would have app measurement, you'd have the at.js file for target, you'd have the DIL file for audience manager, you'd have the visitor ID code for the visitor ID service, and you'd have to maintain multiple libraries. And this was true whether you used our own tag management software, now called Tags, or whether you used any other vendor as well. You had to maintain multiple Adobe libraries to accomplish the data collection for Adobe. And not only did you have to have multiple libraries, you had to make sure that as you upgraded one, that the other versions would work with the newer version of that library. So keeping them in sync. I often thought of it as, the carnival sideshow where you'd see the spinning plates, or on Johnny Carson, like you mentioned earlier, they'd have the entertainer there. They'd have to keep all the plates spinning at the same time and fast enough so they wouldn't drop. And that was a lot of how I always thought about keeping the Adobe implementation going, is you had to keep all the versions in sync so that you'd get the most benefit from the tools. So when we introduced the Adobe Experience Platform Web SDK, we gave our customers for the first time the option of a unified collection library. And so now, whether they deploy that through Tags, which is our recommended solution, or they deploy it through some other tag manager or just natively on the site, they only have one library, one set of code to deploy they can then turn on analytics. They can turn on target. They can turn on sending data directly to the platform, all from this one code base. So the long-term data governance becomes easier because you're only having to worry about, when there's an upgrade to the SDK, you don't have to worry about whether it's compatible with all the other versions of the Adobe code that you're leveraging, because it's all self-contained. The great thing is that the same approach that we've done with the Web SDK also applies to our mobile SDK as well. So the new mobile SDK also now has a unified set of code, and then also just came online a couple weeks ago. Pardon me. You have the ability to actually connect the server-to-server deployment as well for data collection. So whether you're trying to do data collection from like set-top boxes or mobile devices or traditional web applications, you've got a single code base now that you can deploy. And then once you've deployed it and you've set up the rules and you've done all the configuration, what happens is the data gets sent to our edge network, which is right there in the center of that Illuminati-looking triangle. And right there where it goes to the edge, you can think of it like a really fast traffic circle, where based on the rules and the conditions and the configurations that you've set up in other parts of our data collection system, it'll send that data directly to platform, it'll send it to analytics, it'll let you interact with target and offer personalization, back on your web application. And as you can see from that bottom part of the triangle there, you can also start sending that data out to non-Adobe destinations as well. So event forwarding or RTCDP connections, you can take that single call or that same call that we sent to the edge that feeds data into the Adobe stack, can be used to syndicate data out to non-Adobe destinations as well. So it's pretty exciting that we've, after 15 years plus of dealing with multiple JavaScript files, that we now have a single combined code base.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome, and we had a question that's been answered, also asked and answered in the chat there. But like, what's the difference between tags and launch? And as people said, it's just a new name. It's a new name.
Degrees of sadness among the folks that used to call it satellite. So it's just branding. It's just branding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. I totally get it. It's confusing. We're trying. We're not intentionally changing the names to try and confuse people. There is a plan behind there to try and align things so that it makes sense as we add more pieces and add more functionality. So I get it, but yeah, right now, so if you think of Adobe Launch, really that's now tags. So tags contains everything that's done on the client side that Launch used to handle. And it's kind of important to have the new name differential because within the same interface, there's additional functionality that's been added that was never part of the original charter for Launch itself. So the building out of the data streams, which allows you to basically control the rules there in the center of this chart, the edge network to where that data is going, is now managed in that same data collection interface. So it's not a launch capability. It's a separate piece of functionality. So that's why, part of the reasoning behind why there's tags, data streams, and event forwarding broken out as separate features and functionality within our data collection offering.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. We are having some some questions come in. So
great.
I'm going to throw this one up on the screen. So this might be for later, but there's no time like the present. So I'm gonna bring this one up here. Pam asks us, would you recommend going ahead and setting up Web SDK while still sending data directly to analytics so you can verify your data is the same? So that plan of as you kind of move over from app measurement to Web SDK is the method, maybe a good, a little bit of overlap time as people move over to that. Thanks for your question, Pam.
Sure, and that's a great question, and I'll give you my opinion on it, and then I'd love to hear what Jeff and Eric have to think on it, because I think every person you ask at Adobe is probably going to have a slightly different
okay, cool.
inclination on this. And so I'll start off by saying I think it's a great method to do as a short term or as a trial period to put the Web SDK up in parallel with your existing implementation. Don't touch anything with your existing implementation to start with. You can add this in side by side. It's really easy to do that in tags. And then maybe spin up a test report suite where you can send some of that data off and get more comfortable using the Web SDK. A lot of the approaches to data collection and the way you think about data elements and building out the data object that you're going to send along with the Web SDK to the edge is fundamentally different than how we used to think about implementation using the legacy methods. So I definitely think it's a great opportunity to get some experience with it right out of the gate before actually changing over a whole bunch of things within your existing implementation. If you're also able to start leveraging RT-CDP connections, which there is a cost associated with using RT-CDP connections, event forwarding, unless you're a new actual RT-CDP customer, which I believe that's bundled in, but don't hold me to that. But that's another great way, because you can really start building out rules and give it real production level testing, again, without touching or altering your existing analytics implementation. Yeah. So I'm a big believer of getting comfortable with it before you do a rip and replace.
Yeah. So, and just kind of a little add on here, kind of a teaser, I suppose, that next month around the same time here, kind of in 4 weeks, we're going to do another one of these with these same great guys here to do a deep dive into RT-CDP connections, into the event forwarding. So we will on that one. If we kind of don't go too deep into that one here, everybody, then know that we're going to circle around next month and really hit that one hard for you as well and answer your questions. But it's good to know that that's there as part of this, as part of the Web SDK, stack here, or feature set. So cool. Jeff, what are your tips about as you move, for example, in this case we're kind of talking about analytics specifically, so maybe you can talk about that. But is that also kind of the same, I don't know, the same paradigm that you would use for whether it's target or even audience manager or whatever else, but maybe kind of focusing for a second on analytics, since that was a question, as they move over to Web SDK. What are your thoughts there?
I would just emphasize Rudy's opportunistic approach, where you sort of ease into it, because one thing with these new data collection technologies is it's one thing to look at the technology and the use cases that you're trying to support and implement, but it's also as everyone who does this for a living knows, that you have to operationalize it, right? You have to make it part of the day-to-day, and some things are different. And so, as Rudy suggested, I think it's a pretty common recommendation from the Adobe side that you absolutely do not have to do any kind of a gigantic project where you rip out something that's old in order to replace it with the new. You can do it step by step. So I would definitely echo his comments. I know there's a whole bunch of comments now flowing in and questions. I'm not sure which ones you want to take on next, but I think in terms of a migration, definitely doing it one small step at a time is the way I would recommend.
Yeah. Yes, and we do have a lot of questions coming in. You guys, thank you for those. Appreciate that. I don't know if you guys have seen any there that you want to address specifically, but
there's a couple that are talking about when you're moving from one data collection strategy or technology to another, how do you verify that the data is going to be the same? So Pam asked, if you're sending data directly to Adobe Analytics and you want to check out Web SDK, and some other questions related to that as well. How do you compare the data? How do you observe the data? So the good news is that with Web SDK and with all of our data collection tools, if anyone watching has not seen the Chrome debugger, the Adobe Experience Platform Debugger extension, that's a nice utility to use for data validation. And it does work with event forwarding data from the edge. I know someone had popped a question in there about validating that data. And it's also part of the debugger extension is what is called Project Griffin. I know there were several questions about mobile, so that's also available to validate and troubleshoot and document your data collection so that it flows through the system. So from your site or your app, just like the diagram that's on the screen, from the left to the edge and then out, whether it's to a non-Adobe endpoint or to one of the Adobe solutions like Analytics, etc. You can validate that the data you expect is the data you're receiving, and it's in the variable format that you want. So we have really expanding the observability of these things at the same time that we add to the flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, Eric, did you want to add anything to this conversation before I kind of move on? And Rudy in the background, sorry, Eric, before I cut you off here, I'm going to cut you off. Rudy, I didn't know if you wanted to bring up
or
anything like that, and be able to show anybody, show them kind of how that debugging might look. But here, let me move back to this while you kind of get that ready, maybe, and so you can kind of show them the debugger, what that will look like as they debug the data coming through the Web SDK. Eric, what are your thoughts though? Regarding this topic of moving over.
In terms of migration, I think Jeff and Rudy covered it. Okay. I don't have anything to add. We got enough questions to come in. Okay. The one that I thought was most interesting, Doug, was perhaps like around licensing for the Edge network and using Web SDK. and server calls and all of that kind of stuff. There were maybe 2 or 3 or 4 questions that covered all of those. So maybe we'll just like wipe those clean so that we can wipe them clean. We'll take care of those all now, and go from there. Rudy, I don't know if you want to take that first, or I'm happy to.
Sorry, I was trying to pull up the
Cool.
debugger.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, so there were some questions around like who gets access to what and all of that kind of fun stuff. So first and foremost, if you have any Adobe Experience Cloud product today, you can start using the Web SDK, the Mobile SDK, the server-to-server Edge API in coordination with the Edge network and data streams. There's no additional SKU required to utilize data streams and the Experience Platform Edge network in correlation with the Web SDK, the Mobile SDK for Edge network, and the server-to-server Edge API. You don't need to buy real-time CDP. You don't need to buy anything Experience Platform related. If you have analytics, if you have target, if you have audience manager, if you have customer journey analytics, if you have AJO, whatever, you've got access to send data into Adobe applications using that Illuminati slide that Rudy was sharing earlier. And where you need to add licensing is if you want to also use event forwarding to send that data to non-Adobe destinations. If you want to utilize the Facebook Conversions API, if you want to send data to a backend data lake or data warehouse that you're hosting and stream it in real time, then you would utilize event forwarding for that, and therefore you would the SKU to actually purchase that standalone is called real-time CDP connections, or if you already have a current SKU of real-time CDP Prime or Ultimate, then you actually automatically get access to event forwarding as well. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful, but in terms of server-side tagging, that's the only time that there's an additional like fee for using the product. Now, in terms of like server calls going into analytics are the same that they are with your contract for Adobe Analytics, regardless of how they come in. If they come in from the data insertion API, if they come in from using Adobe tags to the analytics extension, or using, I don't know, some other tag management system that I can't even come up with a name for, into the Web SDK or Alloy into analytics, a server call is a server call is a server call. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great. That answers some of the questions up there. So I appreciate that.
And hopefully it was enough blathering that Rudy is now able to pull up the debugger as well.
While he does, and while you share that, I'm just going to throw one more about mobile. And I know that we could probably go, we could go deep into mobile and spend the rest of the time. But I just want maybe just even a quick answer for mobile. Right now, it says, Rajiv says we directly add mobile SDK into our mobile source code at the moment. Is that going to change with Web SDK? Will there be, as they move to Web SDK with mobile, the mobile SDK, is that going to be a big change in paradigm shift there, I guess, and what they'll have to do?
So sorry, you go ahead, Jeff.
No, feel free.
So there shouldn't be any change. The mobile SDK is a separate SDK that's designed specifically for those mobile interactions. So the latest mobile SDK is what enables being able to send stuff to the edge and also leverage the event forwarding and the other features that the Web SDK also enable. So I think you still have to deploy it get it into the app using the same method, but once it's in the app and you've got that configured, it's what you can do to the data when it hits the edge, which becomes very different than previous iterations of the SDK.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. And
did I get that right, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't think it's. That's very funny because we both know it's not really a question of right or wrong. It's just the particular use case that the customer has. But I think for the person asking, one thing that I think helps people coming from maybe a mobile background or who specialize or spend a lot of time implementing in mobile apps the sort of the paradigm, if you will, or the way to I think about it is that with the Web SDK, and specifically with the Web SDK in launch or some other tag management system, it's a rules engine, right? If the visitor does this, then we want to capture some data or do some stuff or send some data to some system, and that executes in the browser when it's running. And so it's really rules management or tags management, if you will, down to a real granular level. But on the mobile side of things, when you're working with the mobile SDKs in launch, it's really SDK management, because the actual actions that you track and the state of your app that you track, you're going to place those calls in your Swift files, or whatever your technology is that you're using to actually create your app. Those are embedded in the actual source files of the mobile app. So it's a little bit different way of thinking about it. Sort of once the embed code is installed on your website, then you can manipulate things and control things through your tag management system using the Web SDK. On the mobile SDK side of things, you're in a tags property and a mobile property, and you're managing the SDKs that you've installed and you're importing into your application files. So it's just a little bit different way of thinking about it, and a little bit way of instrumenting the mobile app versus instrumenting your website.
Yeah. And maybe what we can do is kind of plan a one of these for going deeper on mobile, since we're kind of trying to focus on the Web SDK today, and it's fine because obviously they're related. It's just a different SDK and platform there, but we can maybe go a little bit deeper in another one of these shows to the mobile SDK as well. Go ahead, Rudy.
Before you cut over to the debugger, there was a question from Ryan. I'm not sure if we addressed it is like, how do you run in parallel when you're using the ECID, Audience Manager, and Target? So because one of the migration ways that we have approached was like running them side by side. So the good news is that you need to think of them as completely separate, walled off implementations, even though they're running side by side. So the visitor API code, the visitor ID service code, and the stuff that legacy collections like Target, AT.js, and Audience Manager is looking for, they're looking for that ECID that's created by that visitor ID library. So when you do the Web SDK, there would be if you had the visitor ID service implemented and the Web SDK, you'd actually have two different IDs generated, but legacy Target and legacy Audience Manager would not be looking for the one that was set by the original visitor API service. So it should run completely separate. So like Ghostbusters of old, you don't cross the streams. If you're doing stuff in the Web SDK, you need to think of that as completely separate and firewall it off, and everything you do in there is self-contained, and not have any expectation of reaching in and looking into that to pull stuff out for your existing legacy implementation. So
yeah, maybe a follow-up to that, and I don't know, I don't know if somebody asked this yet, but I will. And that is, tell me about, if you have those two IDs, and you're cutting over, tell me about, visitors and being able to, is it a cutoff and we're starting new with visitors, and there's a cliffing, or what do we do about visitor identification as you move over to the Web SDK? Who wants that?
Yeah, I can take this one.
Okay,
So
great.
So the Web SDK kind of manages all of that for you. So there's a checkbox to basically say migrate from ECID over to Web SDK as you're setting up the extension, and it's a pretty painless process. So it just simply extracts the ECID value from wherever it lives within the cookie, and places it into the Web SDK for use going forward. There's none of that grace period stuff that we had when customers went from analytics to ECID or anything like that to worry about.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Rudy, are you ready to show stuff?
Yep. I've got the debugger pulled up, so just let me know.
All right.
Yeah, we're ready for you.
Debug away.
So, fantastic. So we've got one of our lovely Luma athletic apparel sites up and running that we all know and love. And I've opened up the Experience Platform Debugger. This is a Chrome extension. You can find it in the Chrome store. Just search for it and install it. And what's really neat is you have to authenticate in, and it's important that to do this, because without having actual access, you won't be able to, without having access to that particular property, an account, you won't be able to see all of the edge trace information going on. So I've got this page pulled up here. It's showing me that I do indeed have the Web SDK deployed. It also sees that tags is running. And if I start going away from the summary and into more of these solutions here on the left, you start getting more information. So this will show me the network requests. It'll actually show all of the different, this is pulling in the ECID here. It's going exactly from the configuration IDs. And if you move over towards the edge transaction, and after you actually enable it, you can actually see kind of a nice visual flow of how those calls are being processed. So right here, this was the Web SDK on the client side. It gathered up all the necessary information. The data was sent to the edge network. Over here, the hit was received. Based on the rules and everything that we had set up, this data was then forwarded over to event forwarding. And this is evaluating all the different rules in event forwarding. Some of that data was automatically mapped to analytics, automatically mapped into target and audience manager, and so that's a really cool kind of visual representation. But there's another little more detailed. You can go into the logs, excuse me, and kind of like the developer console, just being able to see the different stuff running from tags on the client side. You can also flip over to Edge. You'll have to start a session if you haven't already started one. And then it'll show you basically the same information where you can say, okay, the request was received on the edge, and you can actually dig in and see everything that was sent over in that particular XDM object. And then I'll actually go through and show you that, we sent data off directly to analytics. Cliff was mapped. This page view rules, this event forwarding rules was set up. Data was sent out to a webhook site that apparently was not found. And you can see that we sent data off to other systems as well. So you get that same level of granular access to the debugging information that we all know and love from the developer console in our browsers. But with this authenticated debugger, you're able to actually see everything that's going on the edge as well. So if you haven't downloaded the Experience Platform Debugger, I highly recommend you do it. It's really the only reliable way to view and kind of debug and troubleshoot your event forwarding implementation, or what's going to the edge. Even if you're not using event forwarding, but stuff that's you're trying to automatically send to analytics and target and such. So any questions with that before I kind of stop sharing on this part?
Thanks for doing that. Thanks for showing us that. Let me go back to the gang here. That's good. I think one of the questions that comes about here, and I think it has, it's at least related to this. I know, Eric, that you kind of teed it up here in the chat as well for Krista, and that is maybe the simplicity of understanding tags that the Web SDK and XDM brings to developers, and is it harder? Is it easier as they move from kind of the old world to the new world here? Is it going to be, is the level of effort going to go up or down or the same as people start working with Web SDK?
Sure. So there's always a learning curve when you start leveraging new technology, and the way that the SDK approaches data collection and the way that you bundle up the data into a data object, whether you use the XDM object, the Adobe XDM object in our schemas, or whether you have your own data layer, the whole approach of assembling a data object instead of just I'm grabbing this little data point, and appending it to a query string parameter and sending off a pixel request. It's a different method. And so absolutely, there'll be a little more work in the beginning, just as you get familiar with the platform or familiar with the framework and familiar with how how you construct data elements, how that changes the way you build rules, the way you think about assembling the data layers on the page. So it is a shift in how data collection is done. I do think that eventually the juice is worth the squeeze. I do think that once you are able to move away from the legacy implementations, when you're comfortable enough with what the new method can provide to you, being able to have all of your tracking code consolidated, the downstream benefits of being able to start moving a bunch of these third-party tags off of the client side and move them over to event forwarding is a huge benefit. I know that's not what we're talking about today. We're going to do RT-CDP connections in depth, but that's a huge benefit because what tags will work and whatnot. There's a lot of customers are dealing with. You load up a page, even Adobe.com is no different here. There's tons and tons of third-party tags that are running, and that takes time and bandwidth and has an impact on customer experience. So anything you can do to streamline your implementation, to consolidate those rules, to consolidate the tags, and to move things off will be a boon to customer experience. But yes, when we moved from Adobe Tag Manager to Satellite, there was a learning curve, DTM. And then we moved from DTM to Launch. It was complicated, and there was a learning curve. This is another one of those evolutionary cycles where we've changed at a pretty deep level how we're looking at data collection. The great thing is all the stuff that you're building from the edge, being able to, that traffic cop in the middle of the Illuminati slide that I showed you, that starts to become even more powerful when you start leveraging the Web SDK and the mobile SDK and the service API, because the edge doesn't care where the data came from. Doesn't care if it came from a web app or a mobile app or a set-top device. You really start to, simplify what you're doing with that data after you send it to Adobe. And so, yes, there's going to be more work to start with, but I do think that the benefits that you will achieve down the line will start to make it all worthwhile. But
yeah, no,
that's
good.
Always funny.
That's good. And I want to kind of back up for a second because I don't want to skip over this. And it kind of there's a question from Jason here that actually kind of triggered this in my brain here for a second, and it's this: to use all of these things, you do have to first be provisioned, right? I mean, like, how does it enabled? And so I guess my question, I'm going to add on to your question a little bit, Jason, and that is, like, if let's say that I don't have platform or RTCDP, I have analytics, and I want to kind of go towards this new, maybe I have analytics and Target, or whatever. I want to go to the new world here. How do I get provisioned, or how do I get this interface where I can actually go in and and set things up, and obviously I've got to be able to get into data collection tags, aka launch, and be able to set that up, and maybe I already have or I don't have access to that interface. Anyway, what are the steps that are needed to kind of be able to get to all of these things in order to start really using it?
So the great thing is, Jason, that my Venmo is just my name. You can just start sending me money right now. Nice. No, there is a provisioning process for some of the stuff. So there's no additional cost to use the Web SDK to consolidate and streamline all of your Adobe tracking. So like Eric said earlier in the call, the server call to the edge is the same as the server call from the legacy implementation. So we're very indifferent on that. So you can, the Web SDK extension is in tags right now. Everybody should have access to that, where they could go in and set that up and start using that to consolidate their data over to to send it over to the edge. You may still have to be technically provisioned to see the part in the interface to build the schemas. If you don't have, I'm going to share I'll share my screen right here real quick. I'll find the right one. So if you don't, can you see my web browser now?
Yeah.
Doug?
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you don't see the schemas set up here and you want to use the kind of the XDM format to build that data object I've talked about a bunch, to have the SDK send that over, just email your account team. They can get this turned on for you. I believe I heard that sometime later this summer, the schema stuff will be turned on for everybody, but I know that's a process of just, instead of requesting it, they'll have that activated automatically. And then once the schemas are turned on, you should also see data streams up here, so that you can configure in data streams, whether you're sending that data, you can add the services here, whether you're going to send data to analytics, target, audience manager, event forwarding. And of course, if you don't have event forwarding or have a contract for that, that won't be an option for you to select, and you won't see event forwarding over here on the left rail as well. So some of the stuff does have to be provisioned, but there's not always a fee associated with a certain set of these features. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I will also add, give my mid-roll here. We're actually doing good here. We answering a lot of questions, but I will kind of give my spiel here for the fact that there are some tutorials and there's the documentation. And again, if you come to experienceleague.adobe.com, we do also have a page-by-page tutorial to walk you through the implementation of the Web SDK. We're currently in building out of some things that are a little more closer to the migration path that will be available also on experienceleague.adobe.com. And there are some just standalone training videos to kind of address specific topics. So and of course that's where the documentation is too. So that's my plug again for coming over to Experience League after the call here. Great.
Hey Doug, I do, if we have time for
what
it,
else we got? Let's do it.
I think there is a really good question from Olivier or Olivier or Oliver. I'm awful with other country names.
You murdered that.
For the first 3 years that I met Rudy, I called him Rowdy. So you just can't trust me. So I don't know if you can post that question on there.
Yes,
I also wanted to point out that I charge my phone with Experience League.
Yes. Nice.
So I recommend it.
How did you get one of those?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I don't even have that. Okay.
This thing is ancient. I'm surprised my phone hasn't exploded.
Okay. Let's move this up so it wasn't in front of anybody's face. Okay. Yes. Is this what you're talking about for clients that are not licensing any AAP
I'll just hold it up
tools
for you.
yet? Oh yeah, thank you. That would be what would be the main benefits to migrate them to AP Web SDK if they're not? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take an initial stab at this, and then Rudy, Jeff, if you guys want to add to it, that would be great because I'm certain I'll miss something. So the probably the reason that we built the Web SDK is to consolidate libraries. It's all about a smaller library in terms of the number of the amount of JavaScript that's being delivered to the page. What that brings with it is it's also less JavaScript files that are being delivered to the page. And so from that perspective, it's very much about faster delivery of your code from the client to analytics, from the client to target, from the client to audience manager. Because that also means it's just simply a single tag from Adobe Tags that is sent into the Adobe ecosphere. Now, another really big thing that comes with that, and I linked to it a little while ago was there was a question around like ITP and cookie deletion and those kind of things. One of the really big differentiators that the Web SDK brings to customers is the ability to essentially set your own ECID value. And we call it the first party device ID. So what you're doing is you're taking a unique ID that you set in a server-side cookie, and since it's a server-side HTTP response cookie, and Jeff will do a much better job describing what that actually means than I would, then it is not as limited in terms of how the expiration by ITP. And that means on Apple devices or iOS devices and iPadOS devices, as well as in Safari on Macs, it can persist longer than 2 weeks. That ID that you're defining as your first-party device ID gets passed in and generates an ECID associated with that user. And even if the ECID cookie that's set by JavaScript is deleted, then the Web SDK will look for that ITP solved. I don't know. That's a terrible word. First-party device ID ID that you're setting in order to persist that visitor for a longer period of time. So that's the second big differentiator. Then the third that like I happen to like is since it's a single hit that's going to both analytics and target, if you have both of those applications, two kind of cool things happen there. First of all, the data is even tighter than ever because like we don't have to worry about any kind of SDID or like using the ECID to link and map the two applications together. So the data is just simply better and stronger, faster, and more, I don't know, rowdy, to mention Rowdy's name earlier. But the other big piece around A4T is that your real-time reports within Adobe Analytics come in faster. So if you have A4T and you're using legacy libraries, i.e. you're not using the Web SDK, there can be a longer period of time between data getting sent and it showing up in your real-time reports. Whereas I've seen it like 80% faster when you're using the Web SDK in terms of real-time reports. And to answer JF's question there about what is an example of an Experience Platform native application, we're talking real-time CDP, Adobe Journey Optimizer, and Customer Journey Analytics. Those are the three. So if you don't have one of those three, then this conversation that I've been having with myself will be of interest to you. Jeff and Rudy, tell me what I missed.
I don't think you missed anything there. I think the example you gave of being able to set your own ID is an important one, because for those of us old enough to remember, like when there was the move from S code to app measurement, there were new features and functionality that were enabled because of leaving the S code behind and moving over to app measurement. I think marketing channels might have been the marketing channels report might have been the big driver at the time. Don't quote me on that, but the newer features and functionality, the new benefits, the new hotness that that will be coming out as part of data collection will be added to the Web SDK. The legacy libraries, while they will continue to function, we are not in the business of turning off your ability to send us server calls. We will collect those server calls as long as you want to send them to us. But the newer features, the things like bring your own ID and things like that, those are really going to be more focused in the Web SDK. So if you want to be able to have access to those new developments as they come online over the next however many years, then that's a big draw, even if you're not leveraging some of the other platform-specific applications. Just having the latest and greatest of our collection code is a pretty big draw in and of itself.
Yeah, what do you think, Jeff? What do you want to add?
I don't think anything to add there. I know we had some other. I think there were some other questions maybe we didn't get to. So
yeah, if you saw one, you bring that up. Look for one that you're thinking there. I'm just going to add this too. I know that I'm just the host, and so I should just be quiet. But I'm going to add the fact that look, even if let's say you're just you're analytics only right now, as you know, if you've been doing analytics for a long time or for however long, to me, it's always been a little bit difficult. I know we had some tools, what we're calling data sources and things like that, to get other non-web data in and merge it, with your web-based behavioral data, and that's hard, at least harder in Adobe Analytics. And so that's the beauty of like customer journey analytics is just this whole ability, and it's fine. Look, if it's down the road, it's fine. I just wanted to kind of throw this out there because I know that was always kind of a stumbling point, I thought, for some of my customers, that they wanted to bring in other kinds of data, whether it's call center data or whether it's point of sale data or whatever other kind of data you have, and merge it with your analytics data. And that is made more possible, easier, streamlined, great with customer journey analytics. So I'm not trying to sell you on this today, but I'm just saying that if that's the direction you want to go, then this is the bridge, right, to kind of, this is that gate that's gonna, I don't know whether I'm the gatekeeper or the keymaster. There's another yes, back to the movies. Okay. Anyway, but that's maybe the direction you want to go. I mean, does that make sense? Would you guys concur with my rambling?
Except where you almost did reference Back to the Future for Ghostbusters, but
Oh gosh, cool. Well, I know we're running out of time. We try to keep this to an hour. We're gonna answer one more question, and then we're gonna end it off. But let's put Carly's up there here, and it's does the Web SDK capture any? There you go. Thank you. Wait, move it up a little bit if you would, Eric. Thank you. Does SDK capture any out-of-the-box data or events without building custom rules, or is everything gonna have to be like custom done, or is there kind of a you given anything out of the box?
So I'll take the first stab at this one. I shared a link that kind of walks you through like all the automatically covered fields that basically, if you just simply have a single rule at your global page top that is triggering a single Web SDK event, all those XDM fields will automatically get pulled in by default. But the fun caveat there is like we're talking like custom rules, and there's some fun ways that the Web SDK has kind of changed a little bit around how data is collected and how XDM data objects are defined. So it's worth kind of digging into those. But the cool thing that I want to point out is in that link, that's a list of all of the automatically captured items that you won't have to capture in a custom XDM data element. I feel like that's like the more complete way to describe that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, Rudy or Jeff, do you guys want to add anything to that about automatically captured stuff?
No, I think he summed it up nicely there.
Okay. Cool. Great. Well, thank you. Appreciate those questions. In our last minute or two, we're just going to end this with our favorite feature here at the end, and that is unrelated cool tip. So, Rudy, I believe you have our unrelated cool tip today, and I'm really excited to hear this, and also a little scared because I don't know.
I think the cool level is very, very low.
Okay, unrelated tip.
So, unrelated tip. So I've had a bit of a brain fog this week, getting over a little bug here. But one of the things that I thought of when I was racking my brain of what kind of cool tip we could show, I went back to when in the before times where I was traveling to a lot of different hotels. One of the things I struggled with was trying to get the room dark enough to where I could actually get to sleep, because I like to sleep in the pitch black dark. So, and I don't have one of the lovely hotel hangers that they have, but almost every hotel has a wooden hanger that's got the little fun clips on the bottom. So I have found that you could take the curtains in the hotel, take their hangers, and close them up. And I've had to use as many as 3 hangers on one set of curtains before, but it does a good job of making the room dark enough where you can get some sleep. So, especially for those New York hotels where Times Square just wants to come in the window.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you, Rudy, for that cool tip. I love it. Just before we sign off here, yeah, is there a link, Eric? Can you throw that link that you had potentially back into the chat?
Yeah, it's weird. Like all of my links in YouTube, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know
Will
if
we
like
be able to
links
post
are
comments when this is
a weird
posted
thing.
on Experience League, Doug?
Yes, we can put this on Experience League. So, I will put a link underneath this, and you'll be able to click over to it. And so, if you want to come back later to this, then I'll put that link down below in the comments, and make sure that you guys can get the link, and we'll give whatever links we can that we think would be helpful there as well. So anyway, just want to say thank you to my experts here. I'm excited to have these guys come back also in a month. So we're going to talk, like we said, about real-time CDP connections, event forwarding. In a month, we'll go deeper into that. And just a super teaser for the next month, we'll go more into some additional data collection topics as well. So we'll have these guys over the next couple months as well. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. Thank you for your time. We know it's valuable, and we hope that this was helpful. Please let us know if there's anything. You can put it in the comments here if you want, anything that you'd like to see in Experience League that's not there. But again, go to experienceleague.adobe.com, and hopefully you can find all the documentation, tutorials, and everything else that you're looking for there. And other than that, thanks for coming, and we will see you next time, everybody. And appreciate you. We'll talk to you next time.
See y'all.